Come on up, Willow. Come here. Come on. Hey guys, it's Jessica, and I am here because it is May 31st, Memorial Day for us here in the USA, so I've got the extra day off, and it just so happens that today is the day that Gleam by Raven Kennedy releases. Now, for those who don't know, Gleam is the third book in a series that I started reading in 2020 with Guild, and then the next book, Glint, came out in February, and here we are in May with the third book. I was like kind of on the fence with the first book. The ending really sold me on it, as you can see in my best of 2020 here, and then Glint took it to the next level. It really confirmed that little spark I saw in the first book had carried over into the next book, and you can see my recommendation for Glint up here in the first quarter recommendations. But I am just so excited for this book. I'm so glad it came out in the day I have off so I can go ahead and sit down and read it. And I'm like all here on my couch with my blanket and my cup of tea and my e-reader, and I'm going to do a reading vlog on it and just give you the real-time feedback and thoughts I have on it. Right now I'm using my mic while I'm talking, but chances are pretty good. I'm going to turn the recording off, keep the video rolling to catch any reactions, and if I have anything else that I want to talk about, I'll probably end up talking to the camera. So the audio might be a little bit weird in this video. I'm sorry about that. And the whole thing is kind of a little unscripted and random, but it'll give you a chance to see a little bit of my inside reading process, a little of my first-hand experience. And I've got to tell you right away, this book opens up with a prologue. Y'all know I hate prologues. I'm gonna read it because I want to catch up a little bit from the last book. I remember our hero, for those of you who haven't read the book or who aren't keeping up, our hero is a fae girl who can turn things to gold, and she is in league with King Midas. People think King Midas is the one who can turn things into gold, and even we the readers, have just kind of found out that it's only her that has that power. And she has just been discovered by a fae king who may or may not be cruel to her. It looks like he's gonna abduct her from King Midas, but we're not really sure if he's a good guy or not. We spent the majority of book 2 with him, and I really liked him. I thought he was like kind and sensitive, but he seems to have like 2 sides to him, or 2 personas, and certainly a little bit this book has been a story about abuse and abusive relationships. And the same way that our main character thought that Midas was a good guy who was protecting her and taking care of her, I might have like fallen into the same trap with this new guy. So we're just gonna see where it goes and see if this is interesting. Bye, I'm reading. Okay, so I have read this prologue about a page, and I'm already going to tell you I'm skipping it. It's basically just establishing a time when our main character was a child and she lived in the fairy realm instead of here in the human side. And you know, I care, but I don't, if that makes sense. Like, I'm way more interested in getting to the action. So let it be known, here's the point where I gave up on the prologue in real time. Voiceover Jess here. I want to give recognition to Heather at Kia Booktubes. A month or 2 ago, she did a reading vlog where she had a weekend alone and she writes some romances, and her reactions while she was real-time reading were just so good. It kind of inspired me to film myself while I was reading too. Unfortunately, as you might be able to tell here, my responses are just not as good as hers were. I'm going to go ahead and give a link in the description down below to her reading vlog, and I totally recommend you check it out. But right now, I'm just in the middle of Gleam. I'm really enjoying the story. The main character, Auren here, she's great because she just withholds so much information. So there's a lot left unsaid, or there's a lot of hidden depth that you as the reader know that the rest of the characters don't know, and it makes it really tense and exciting. Plus Auren has like a pretty good sense of humor. So I'm enjoying the book, I'm having a good time looking at it, and hopefully you guys check it out too. Gleam by Raven Kennedy. It is really good. Probably one of the best books of 2021 for me. So I do think the exchange going on right now is really interesting. We're following a character who has been hurt and attacked in her previous life. She was ripped from her parents in her childhood and has a lot of trauma around abuse, attacks, all that kind of stuff. And she ended up with an abusive partner who keeps her sheltered and safe from the world, but also is keeping her caged and locked away and using her own power for his benefits, right? And we see all this and know all this, and meanwhile she's having this confrontation with this guy who, for all intents and purposes, appears to be is a powerful fae. He's king of a land and a commander. He hides who he is so he can go between being the king and the commander. And he is accusing her of lies and deceit and trickery, and he doesn't seem to understand her need for it or why she would be hesitant to confide in him. And I just think it's interesting that he is so into his own power set that he doesn't see how that could be dangerous for her or see why she might perceive it as dangerous. How Auren interacts with the Fae King in this story is actually really interesting. In the first book, we have her interacting a lot with King Midas, and she really trusts him and she has a lot of faith in him, even when he is ignoring her or treating her badly or even handing her off to enemies to gain personal rewards at her expense. Meanwhile, when we meet the Fae King, I really liked him right away. I felt like he was warm and authentic versus Midas, and Auren doesn't trust him at all and finds a lot of his personality threatening. And it's just interesting to observe how someone like Raven Kennedy can write a story where the reader gets this feeling of like safety, security, this is a good guy, even when we're in a first-person narrative and our narrator, in this case Auren, is telling us that she doesn't like him and that she doesn't trust him. It just shows a lot of skill, a lot of talent in Raven Kennedy's part, and I think this and just how she weaves all the different mythic elements together and makes her own new fantasy realm is just really amazing and unique in this series, and I definitely think it's worth people checking out. Oh, I like this king. We just found out that not only can he rot bodies, but he can reverse the damage, and that's really cool. I think we're gonna enjoy him further in. Even though we never see King Rot heal anyone else in this story, this is a great little piece of foreshadowing. Because so far all we knew about King Rot's powers was that he can devastate the land or people, and all we know about Auren's powers is that she can turn anything she touches into gold. So now that we've seen the other side of King Rot's powers, we're wondering, what is the other side of Auren's powers? Could she control her gold touch? Could she only turn some things into gold? Can she transform things from gold back to their original state? Could she be saving the people that she gold touches the same way that King Rot has saved all these people that he turned into rotting bodies? It's just a very interesting concept, and it keeps the reader wondering what's going to be next in the story. And we do eventually learn a little bit more about Auren. She does get a little something of her powers, but this early seed here that's like there's something more going on with their powers is just great, because it had me wondering all kinds of questions, like how do you train the Fae powers? Who taught King Rot his powers? Who could be teaching Auren hers? Could she be practicing somehow? It was just a lot of interesting questions, and it really makes us wonder what's going to happen next in Auren's journey and who else is going to join her on it. One element that was a little disappointing about this book overall is just that it's a very self-focused journey. In this case, we're focused solely on Auren. So she doesn't interact with a lot of other characters, we don't get a lot of other character building moments, I feel like some of the other characters that we've been following, like some of the other saddles, a little bit King Midas, we just don't get that from this book. And it's very surprising because this book, in my recollection, is the first book where we got alternating points of view. So we got a couple chapters from Midas's point of view. We got a few chapters from Midas's wife's point of view back in Highbell, and a couple other character point of views as well. And part of it is probably just that I wasn't that interested in the other stories. I was more interested in Auren and where she was going. But it just felt like Auren was very isolated and we weren't getting a lot of interaction. And we were using some of these alternating perspectives just to give the reader a break and a chance to feel like they were interacting with more than one person. I will say one other element that's interesting in this story is besides King Rot and Auren, it doesn't feel like there's a whole lot of good people in this world. It seems like Auren and King Rot are very isolated, maybe like the rest of humanity is so deeply flawed, there's just not a lot else for them to do about it. And it's great to have two heroes we're really rooting for and have a clear evil that they're pushing back against, but sometimes it's hard to believe that it's just them against the world. And I'm not sure that Gleam 100% does a great job capturing this. Overall though, I will say that Gleam was an excellent read. You guys only see me reading about the first third of the book here, although I did finish the whole thing in one day. It's 531 pages, which is almost double what the first book was. And the second book also was about a 100-page jump from the first to second book. So each one in these series is getting longer, and they're just getting better, more detailed, more myths, more involved each time. So I love this series. I love the mythic elements. I think our main character is fun. She feels modern and fresh, even though she's in this fantasy, imaginary, old-timey world. And I can't wait to see what happens next. I'm really excited for the fourth book in this series too. Anyways, I'm glad that you guys went ahead and watched this reading vlog. I hope you enjoyed it, and I guess I'll see you guys next time. Thanks for watching. Bye!